see a big change up here in draft. Remember, against BLG, Caps pulled out that LeBlanc pick, right? And that was series defining. He crushed Knight so hard in the lane that Bejuan couldn't even play the game, right? Something like that is what we might need to see here from G2. They have blue side now. The Azir was
they
not
had blue side in game 1.
I know. They have blue side again.
All right. So they now also have blue side.
But like, some of these picks are gone, right? So picks like the Azir stock goes up quite significantly. See if the Talia is left open as we see a big change up here with the Rumble ban for G2 in this second game.
Yeah, it's going to mean that it's not 100% Chovy bans on the side of G2, giving that Rumble a look in as the Lee Sin taken away from Canyon, one of his most impressive champions, but a surprising ban here as the Azir still left up, the Vi and the Talia going to be the options that these teams are playing with.
I think banning the Azir is still the safest bet, but it is Caps, after all, who might have something else prepared, as it instead is going to be a ban towards Human's Jarvan in this one, which gets a big laugh out of Dylan Falco there. So the first pick is going to look to be is Trundle is strong into so many of the available jungles right now. Like, it's going to make you feel pretty good into Xin Zhao. If GENG wanted to go for a Sejuani draft here, it is also going to be incredibly powerful into that, so that's not really an option anymore. And even with the Talia still up, they're looking for this Azir for Chovy, a pick he's so known for. Every LCK mid who's ever called themselves an elite, an LCK champion, is known for their Azir. And of course, Chovy is the strongest of said mids right now, and will be confident enough to lock this one in. The question is, what comes with it?
Is it going to be the jungle pick? Does Canyon just take something that he's willing to play into the Trundle?
I mean, I think Xin Zhao is still playable into Trundle. You don't feel great about what Trundle can do to you, but it is strong elsewhere. The Vi, not as affected by that Subjugate, and works really well with so many different other follow-up champions here. It can be a pseudo-dive composition here with a strong side-laning Azir, and they do end up just taking that one away.
Okay, so now G2 are going to show us what they had prepared. When you pick the Trundle this early, you do have the opportunity to go towards whatever tank you would like towards that top side. It's going to be the Annie in the mid lane, and there is a Renekton. So in fact, no tanks to be picked up here by G2. They are going pedal to the metal, keeping up the aggression, as the Renekton has been pretty good this tournament, I have to say. Gives a little bit of that Shuriman flavor over to G2 as well. And GENG, they are staying in the deserts of Shurima themselves. As the Keen Sante looking to be honest, coming in.
I feel like a lot of people would be shocked to see the Keen Sante because the Trundle is on the other side, but
yeah, and in fact, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen, but I actually thought that's what he was going to pick because it's just so safe into the Renekton, and in the laning phase, you're not going to be interacting with that Trundle anyways. Feels pretty good into the Annie, but they pivot, and this draft has a lot of power with the Vi. There's a lot of really strong mid-game here. We talk about the late-game Azir, the side-laning Azir all the time, but because of his ultimate, it can be quite powerful in mid-game fights with a composition like this where you can cut the team in half and split somebody off. The Vi follows up, the Aatrox follows up. Picks like the Kai'Sa, I feel like are really strong, even though we haven't been the biggest fans as the LCK casters here at this event of the pick for GENG, because you already have a ton of magic damage in this comp. You could go into the AD variant, you could follow up on the mid-game power of this draft so well.
And there's also the fact that, I mean, the cease and desist, very single target, right? The Kai'Sa is able to follow up on anyone you choose to go in on. But I think that the combo that they are already representing with the Azir and the Vi is just something we've never really seen. Because these are two first-pick champions, Wolf.
Yeah.
And they're on the same team right now.
They do leave the Xayah up, GENG do, here for Hansama to potentially take. We've seen him be such a menace on this pick throughout EWC 2025, but see what it does eventuate here, as we could see a Kai'Sa ban to come through. I think Ezreal is also still really strong into G2's comp because you can stay away from the Renekton, you can stay away from the Annie, you can just shift away from the pillar.
Oh, I was expecting
Senna's similarly strong,
actually, because Rakan's so good for GENG, but G2 may be hoping that that is not going to be the decision. And a cow is a possibility, right? And Alistar is definitely a big one, but I think just picking an R4 Rakan just feels so good for GENG because it goes so well with so many things.
There's so many different options here for GENG. Like, I feel like if you go Ezreal, you go for the Rakan. If you go for even a Kaisa. Like, all of these things work well. The Alistar gives you even more robust mid-game power because of how tanky he is in those fights, and you now have a frontline, because before, everything else of this draft is relatively squishy, and, you know, the Alistar is just going to be happy to go into the front line of this Annie, happy to eat a Tibber stun so that the rest of the carries can go in and follow up.
Yep,
and
it's the one tank that doesn't get worried about the subjugate as well. As the Zyra Khan is given over, and this is the danger that you had on the side of GENG, is that you were staring down the barrel of a lovers duo, which is understandable. That's a Zeri for Ruler's
That'd be a fun one. Iconic Zeri. Zeri Azir, so much late game team fighting power.
That's a Vayne.
That's not what he's playing, so don't worry, everybody.
Yeah, let's see what Duro does decide for Ruler here. 5 seconds to go. Is Siva going to be the consideration? Certainly a lot of AoE and a bit of that Shuriman flair.
How do you get on top of this Sivir and Punisher is the question that G2 is going to have to answer, because the Azir is super safe, right? Has the Shurima Shuffle they could use to engage, but also can just use the Emperor's Divide defensively. The spell shield here for this Sivir makes it really difficult to lock her down. Even Annie could have a tough time actually stunning Ruler. And then the wave clear means that GENG can get prio on objectives really easily when it comes to setting up later on for 3rd, 4th Dragon, Barons, Otacon. So while I think if you cover GENG's comp and you look at what G2 have, there's a lot of synergy here. It's not a great Trundle position. I think GENG, because the Trundle was picked so early, we're able to play around that incredibly well. Renekton, a similar story here. I think if Broken Blade can win the topside matchup, if there's some attention there and this Renekton becomes big early, then the Renekton can eventually just get on top of this Sivir, can be a big threat for Chovy's Azir. It's a lot of ifs, it's a lot of maybes here. And after the performance we saw from GENG in Game 1, I think they're pretty confident with this draft. They're going to close it out and head straight to the finals.
That's what they're looking to do. We'll see whether G2 can find some of that magic here as we load onto the Rift for the second game of the series. Do or die here for G2. We'll see whether their key can survive one more game, or whether GENG are going to be crushing it on their way to the final against AL. And AL, they have been on a bit of a tear. They are no strangers to crushing the keys of LCK representatives. And GENG going to certainly have to study up before that one, but they do need to make sure that they dispatch of G2 in this second game first. And here we are onto the Rift for that second game. Maybe G2 can catch them napping. Maybe they've got a bit of a plan moving into this second game. We'll see. Otherwise, it's a date with T1 tomorrow in that best of 3 to decide who picks up the 3rd place. And that is an extra 70 grand. Wolf, like that's, it's not small money that they'll be fighting for.
That's right. We do the big money at EWC, and we have a massive prize pool, and every single step up you go, the more you are going to get. Skewmon and Broken Blade here playing aggressively at this level 1. Keen gets the ward onto the blue buff there of G2, so Vision traded across the map here. Duro and Ruler at the ready there in the bottom lane. We'll actually have the faster track. And it looks like that's just going to be now the 5-point starts to eventuate. Caps does obviously have stun at level 1, but I don't think they're going to look for a play here. And GENG just playfully letting G2 know that there ain't anything happening at level 1.
Ruler also giving us a bit of a history lesson, which is kind of cute. Of course, one of the JDG flares there, and then Samsung Galaxy. Kind of cute. Just, you know, the teams that he managed to pick up international titles on.
So they are going to try to utilize this extra pressure here that GENG has to relinquish with the level 1 Alistar to set up some vertical jungling here and invade for Skewmon, as he is going to take away the blue buff here of Canyon. And GENG very well aware that this is happening. So we'll see what Canyon does respond with, since he is starting topside on that red buff. Has vision, of course, of Skewmon's blue, so he may just simply cross and we have that vertical jungle.
Bro, not able to give that heal over to Hans Sommer, but I guess he was at full health, so he doesn't worry about it too much. Like we were saying, it is indeed just vertical jungling here between these two junglers. Skewmon coming on over, though, and just feeling like he can do battle with Canyon, and he absolutely can. The chomp is so valuable.
Skewmon really going to get a huge lead out of this. Canyon going to have to flash.
Yeah, Broken Blade looking for it. Does manage to vault break over the wall.
Okay, I thought he queued already, so he's fine. Doesn't have to flash. Still, massive. And
no, it does not
it's
end
not over
here.
yet because there's so much prio for Caps. So when Electrocute is pushing Chovy out of the lane, Canyon really in trouble here. And G2 playing around this early prio so incredibly well. They weren't able to make a level 1, happen to where they get a pick or anything like that, but they use that extra pressure to set up this vertical jungling and shut this Vi down, as now Canyon's looking to cross over into this quadrant here and take the red buff of Skumon.
Yep, spots the fact that Skumon is just going to stay towards that top side and take his red, so Canyon not going to be... well, actually, no, because Canyon started on his red. Never mind. So that red is not actually going to be consumed.
Let's
it's
go
the Krugs that are going to be the next one. So experience advantage still there for Skumon, but it's not going to be too much of a big deal. It's Canyon pathing exactly where he needed to there to make sure that he stays alongside him as far as camps are concerned. Nice little headbutt there from Duro. He's going to get a lot of damage onto Labrov. Wasn't exactly hoping to be in that position, and now Canyon, possible gank angle as well. As there are flashes, everything else is available here as Canyon looks for the angle. Doesn't get too much, and there's the flash forward to block the Vault Breaker. Beautifully done. Duro gonna have to go in, make sure that he keeps his jungler alive and actually flashes out of the way. Really good play here from G2 to make sure that they're capitalizing on Skumon's early pathing.
Yeah, and Skumon should be able to turn this into a double scuttle if he wants to just run straight topside here. Might want to look for more, but I don't think there's really an opportunity here, but grabs this bottom side one. Is going to try to force it. It's for the Scry.
Yeah.
Could turn this at least into some Gromp pressure as the wave crashes through. This is going to be really challenging to pull off, though. Duro doesn't have flash, but Ruler does have his and a barrier.
I mean, it's already a win for G2. I don't think they necessarily need to continue putting on
Canyon's
too much pressure.
here,
As Canyon is going to come on over. Does have the level 3 alongside Skumon as Duro goes in. The bottom lane are trying to rotate up. They should be able to get here. And Skumon will be able to secure that blue buff as well. Canyon continuing to be pretty far behind.
Yeah, 3 winning lanes will give you so much
agency. It was the Gromp, actually, and the Gromp got uninterested. I need to identify which camps are being attacked.
That's fine. Gromp will go over to Canyon here, and Skumon will just go back over and take his Raptors. I thought perhaps he was just going to go straight through mid and go take that upper scuttle and look to clear the top side of the jungle, but decides to instead really put that pressure on. Pushing Ruler out of the lane is a big win. Even though they don't end up getting any kills, they don't get the Gromp. That pressure means something, as it's a 10 CS advantage here for Hansama, who has generated a lot of leads this tournament on Xayah from 2v2s, but this time playing to the fact that his jungle had that early control, playing through the Alistar early game. And then that leads to Caps getting mid lane prio right, and everything that's eventuated in this early game. Is Keen going to get all into here?
Yeah, Broken Blade looking for a bit of an angle, finds a nice trade. As Keen with the Darkened Blade is going to be able to even things out relatively nicely. And it's going to be trading CS here between these top laners. Skumon going to be able to get that double scuttle that you were talking about, as BB is going to be not pulled back by the Infernal Chains. Gets a nice Q to get that health bar back up again as ulti's traded here between these top laners, but BB's gives him a bit of extra health back alongside it, so it feels kind of nice to even just press the button even if nothing happens.
Yeah, that was a really good judgment there from Keen as well, knowing the level 6 was just around the corner. Even though they had 6 advantage, he knew that one extra minion was going to take it over, as here comes Skumon in the mid lane.
Yeah, back actually going to complete here from Chovy, as Duro doesn't have flash, but he does have legs. So that gets him out of there.
Sometimes that's all. He's also got a mouse and he's got a right-click button on it.
And a keyboard, baby. Worked real well.
And you will get away there, but it was a really nice timing trying to punish a potential split back. His TP is going to be committed here by Duro, and Hansama, I think, is just dead. He's got flash, but I don't know where he's going to go.
Yeah, looking to try.
Whoa, the trade
here as he flashes forward, but there is a barrier available. Ruler is just going to burn down as Labrov gets the ignite off. A 1-for-1 trade, but it's probably going to be 1-for-2 here, unless tanking the turret is a little bit dangerous here for these guys. As Labrov, one more auto, but does get the knock up. It's 2 kills. Over to the support of G2. Never mind, one of them was in fact an execute. That's right. That's kind of unfortunate, but that is fine. Still good for G2.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to force the backs there, as Chovy is also going to fight Tibbers here.
Yeah, this is so unfair, isn't it? The
Caps,
1v2 in the mid lane.
Caps has done such a good job this tournament of knowing the timings where he can just punish someone who's teleportless and look for these aggressive trades, even though he doesn't have kill pressure. He's like, well, I mean, put you low, and I'm going to have this wave push. I'm going to force resources to come into the mid lane, and Skumon is looking for an aggressive play here topside.
And he's going to be able to take this red buff, I think, because Canyon, see how quickly he comes on over. Does get that E charged up, walks into this brush, Broken Blade, he's going to be able to get that first roam over. Chovy not exactly feeling too healthy here in this mid lane, so they decide not to go for any sort of contest.
Caps gets that sustain from the Honey Fruit. Will be able to come over here and look for another potential stun onto Chovy. Duro having to stay in this bottom lane, which means Ruler is just landing straight up here into Hansama on the bottom side of the map. We're going to go back to this play here again. Hansama's judgment in this moment is actually so incredible because he's like, all right, I've got my feathers set. I have to kite back here. And Labrov is coming back over, right? Hansama knows, okay, got to flash this. We're going to go back to live.
Yeah, in the meantime, another fight is starting here as Hansama taking so much damage and didn't really have any way out. So he is just going to die. That is going to be a kill over to Ruler. He's finally on the board here in this game, and kills evened out between the two squads, and in fact the gold entirely evened out as well. Basically, 400 in it.
It won't just be a win for GENG that doesn't have any return, as Skewmon will be able to start up those grubs. Has that topside prio there with Broken Blade, so they will be able to get, looks like, all three of those. So not the end of the world there. We're not entirely sure exactly how that eventuated, as we just saw Hansama getting engaged on there, obviously flashless from that previous play as we came out of the replay. But that's a big win for Ruler. Now pulls ahead in that bottom side matchup in terms of gold. 3 grubs do go over, as I mentioned.
Oh dear, cease and desist here in this mid lane as they pull the Annie out, and that is Feats of Warfare over to GENG, and Chovy picking up his first. Well, gets back to taking plates. Oh dear, Canyon, this is a little greedy, isn't it? As Hansama and Labrov move in, there's the quickness flash. They don't want to give him any way out, and you can understand exactly why. As the Vi goes down, Canyon punished immediately.
Just had no vision there, and obviously it just used his ultimate. Chovy just used his, so if anyone shows up, I don't know what he expected was going to happen, but I guess he found out. A lot of greed there from Canyon, and that's a massive swing back. Like the pendulum of the bottom lane gold just keeps swinging as they trade kills in these moments, and this is one of those moments for G2 where you're like, oh god, that was horrible, but at least they kind of tripped over their shoelaces right afterwards and we're right back in it. So for GENG, very proactive play, but perhaps a bit too proactive in the aftermath.
Yep, a little bit of a blip coming on through there as Labrov looks for a bit of an angle that didn't have the quickness, so Chovy not going to be too worried about it. And Caps here on the bottom side, just dealing with Ruler.
Second Drake is spawning here. Ruler is going to back away with the prio that Hansama rather has picked up in the mid lane. May see a big skirmish here over this that G2 can control to even up the dragons. Yep. Broken Blade doesn't have TP. Keen also had to trade that, so it would be a 4v4 at most.
Duro just playing with his Hex Flash, just enjoying himself.
Try to feather call back me.
Yeah.
Jump those.
Just, I hold this wave, and he does definitely do that. Ruler cleaning up those minions pretty satisfyingly as the dragon is going to spawn. See who's going to be able to take it, and then we'll be able to see what kind of soul we're going to be looking at as well, as the Boomerang Blade doing a lot of damage here against Hansama. He's just wanting to hold this wave as best he can.
A little bit, of a, okay, hold up topside.
Yeah. Bit of a ruthless predator here is Broken Blade, but Keen weathering the storm quite nicely. See whether he's trying to trade back as GENG, looking for a skirmish potentially here in the river. Ruler at full health, but Hansama looking to go aggressive as On the Hunt comes on in there. That spell shield just glorious, but it does mean that the root comes down from the Blade Caller. Hansama looking a little worse for wear, but Skewmon getting that pillar down, making sure that he knows exactly where GENG is. Try and fight back. Teleport in from Caps top lane, wanting to punish Keen here, who does have his flash available, uses it to get out of the way, but Tibbers comes down, and there should be the burst damage available as never mind, Keen just umbrally dashes away. They should be able to get a fair bit of work done on this turret, but the Dragon should go over to GENG.
That's Dragon, and I just don't think that's worth it here. You're going to pick up some additional gold that's split here between two players, and I think a lot of this was about the fact that Hansama and Labrov's gambit there in the mid lane does not pay off, as trying to engage now onto Duro. We'll see how well this goes.
Yeah, Skewmon taking a lot from just the Boomerang Blade there, as well as Ruler is doing anything that he wants. Does get the Subjugate off, and that is going to give him a bit of his health back, but already, even on one item, this Sivir is getting scary.
So when they looked for that play on the Ruler and he spell shielded the knockup, you know, Hansama was already losing out, and the mid lane was significantly low, so this isn't done yet up here. Oh man, Caps. There's no ult for Canyon. Caps does not have flash though. He gets chained.
Well, everything kind of misses except for that Q2, and he's still, I think, going to be dead. Voltbreaker to finish him off, but Skewmon is going to kill Canyon. So a 1-for-1 is exactly what they were looking for on the side of G2. A little bit of a, I guess, overextension there from GENG. Could have just let him get away.
This game is getting a little bit weird in terms of the constant hard forcing. We're not really playing the map. We're just playing C champion, kill champion a little bit. But I think we have to give credit to Skewmon and having a good read on what the points of attack here are for GENG, because if he doesn't see that, if he's not towards the top side of the map there and Caps just dies for free, it's a disaster. I think it's still a big win here for GENG because Keen's going to get a Demolish proc here and pick up a ton of plate gold. Caps is pushed off the map, doesn't have TP, so at the end of the day, still a massive win. But, you know, you've got to give credit where it's due. Could have been worse for GENG, or for G2, excuse me, and maybe he sticks around a little bit too long here. Doesn't look like it.
No. Keen is not the one that's doing the overextending. That has been other members of GENG, so he's just going to back away and play this one respectfully.
Like, every time G2 lose somewhere on the map, they're finding some angle, right? Like, Broken Blade picks up a little bit of plate gold. They got that split plate gold on the top side. You know, 4 out of those 5 plates do go over. That gold does stack up. Like, G2 have a gold lead in this game for sure. My issue is the fact that the farm here for Caps is very low. He doesn't have that much farm. You know, he's significantly behind Chovy here. This scaling Azir is going to do more damage in team fights. So the lead that G2 has right now is small, and that's problematic because they want it to be big. As, oh boy, this
Empress
isn't it.
Divide delivers Broken Blade to the turret. He's down to 300, has to flash. And not exactly too happy about how this one's going, as another mid laner is going to get dove this time towards the top side of the map. The exhaust goes down onto Caps as Tibbers was trying to help out, but that is a successful dive. The world ending here as Chovy down to 200 here on the bottom side as Hansama is underneath the turret, manages to take down the Azir, and now Canyon will be falling as well. They overload the bot lane, and they get exactly what they want. G2, Canyon. Great play to answer as Canyon taking a while to die, Canyon, but I just don't think Ruler's going to do anything.
He buys enough time here for GENG to end up getting that topside turret. You have to imagine on this next wave, which will be first turret, which will give them feats of strength. So ultimately, again, a trade up for GENG as Keen's just going to sit up here and go, well, Canyon trades his life for a kill, but I also get this turret. We also get Caps again. And it's these trades that look even, but I feel like GENG is getting slightly the better of them in each and every time. It's not like a 1 step forward, 2 steps backward. It's like 1 step forward, 1.2 steps backward, but
it's like they're doing the June sand dance.
Yeah,
like make sure the sandworms aren't coming over. Exactly. It's a bit confusing understanding where the legs are supposed to go.
But ultimately, you know, GENG, it's not a lead to where this game is over by any means. Hansama is still massive in this one. But the map reads here have been pretty good for GENG, and now with those additional stats from the feats of strength, looking for a potential Herald fight here. GENG have Keen on the top side rotating over. Chovy also has TP and his ult coming back up.
Seen this one before as Broken Blade taking a lot of damage here on the return to his turret.
And they give it up.
Just getting angry.
And looking for another turret instead, saying Herald would get me that, but we'll just take it here instead and look for potential crocodiles. Lebrov's coming over for the defense.
Yeah, it's going to be a trade of some Qs, or at least a Q for a W as the exhaust goes down onto Canyon. They're going to try and burst him out, but he does create a lot of distance, and Duro comes in for the save. So GENG, good defensive play this time around, and even a teleport going to be invested here as Keen really wants to hit someone.
Yeah, Caps
because he pressed a pretty important button.
Caps is like, all right, cool, he's out of here. I'm going to try to push as fast as I can on the top side and get a turret, and I think we should be okay down here on this bottom side. Good rotation here from G2.
Yeah, Duro actually canceling that one. Not sure about that, as the pillar is going to make things a bit uncomfortable, but Ruler's making his way over. Can Duro buy enough time? Is the Unbreakable Will finally going to get pressed? And Ruler does just say, get out of here. But still, like you were saying, that is the turret going down on the top side of the map. It is in trade for the bottom outer as well, so keeping things even on the side of GENG. But speaking of even, it's down to a 300 gold advantage for GENG.
Yeah. I feel like on one hand, this game has been incredibly action-packed. We're already 12 kills in at 16, nearly 17 minutes in. But on the other hand, it's also been a thinking man's League of Legends game. It's really been a macro game of trades constantly, both teams making the best decision possible. Again, I feel like GENG has gotten slightly the better of G2 every time, but G2 are not going to roll over. They're not making any big mistakes. They're not actually overextending on one side of the map to where GENG win on both sides. Like, they've always been able to get something back no matter what. And speaking of, now with the regroup there for GENG, they're looking to actually take their first dragon of the game here. It will be a Cloud Drake. And unfortunately for GENG, they're just not grouped up in any way to fight for this. And Duro's going to get pushed away. Chovy has TP, but
Duro doesn't have ult.
Side.
He's actually looking for a bit of an angle here to try and answer his, oh dear, yeah, Hansama going to be able to at least get an assist. I thought that they were going to try and leave him the kill, but the Drake goes over and a kill onto Duro.
Yeah.
His second of the game, and now Skumon doing that I'm in a walk at you thing, and now Ruler is just going to get eaten underneath the turret. Lebrov comes on over, and the flash just a little bit unfortunate.
I think that's 100% worth.
So many angles. No, it's fantastic here for G2, as Caps is really, no, not dead. Keen gonna need another rumble dash if he wants to get over, and there is the flash to get himself out of there. Jibber's now fighting alongside as Chovy looking to make his way in. That's gonna make things more difficult here for G2. Slice and dice activated. And
Hansama gets a turret. Now, I mean, before I was like, okay, G2 are not giving up things on both sides of the map. They're always matching. Now they're taking the driver's seat. They're 1,000 gold ahead. They win on both sides of the map. They end up shutting Chovy's push down top side. They get the dragon. Caps is able to flash away there on the bottom side. They get the play in mid, and yes, Skumon has to flash to kill Ruler, but Ruler uses both summoners, and Sivir's flash is way more valuable than a Trundle's in a situation like this, and G2 really pulling ahead after what was, you know, kind of absorbing a lot of the pressure, a lot of the punches here from GENG, making all the right calls, waiting, biding their time for the right moment, and that right moment did occur as once again, Duro in no man's land.
Yeah, he is going to be able to get a stun. There is the pushback on Lebrov, but he's just dead. Duro just misreading the state of the map right now. Things are certainly turning more in G2's favor. I mean, you cannot be pushed that far up.
Going into this series, you know, I said Lebrov had a pretty good time against BLG, obviously, and we talked about Lebrov's improvements, but I told you, like, I don't know, man. I feel like the support diff might be big in this one. Like I was telling you before the broadcast, you know, off stream, like, I think Duro's going to have his number, but in this game, absolutely not the case. Right now, Lebrov at almost 100% KP. Duro constantly caught, just aggressively trying to clear vision and find out these rotations from G2, but when GENG are behind on the tempo, which is rare for this team, mind you, since Duro has joined this incredible streak, he keeps getting punished, and G2 just get further ahead.
Oh, Caps now, we're going to clear out this minion wave, but there is a Keen looking for him. The World Ender coming on through as down goes Tibbers. That's a decent quickness there from Lebrov to buy some space as Keen's flashing for it. The heal comes in though, and Keen just unable to close the gap. Caps able to move himself back. They don't kill the Aatrox, which would have been nice, but they don't. He doesn't manage to get his jump.
Well, maybe they will.
Hansama is looking for the angle. There's the flash forward. Keen wants to be able to do something, but he doesn't. And Hansama is going to get yet another one. The outplays here from G2 are fantastic. And now, like, second game.
Now G2 just keep winning on both sides of the map here. They're going to have to get a teleport from the Alistair, look for a pick, and I don't think it's enough.
Yep, cease and desist coming on through there, and somehow Canyon actually lives. He flashes out of the way as Chovy gets the Sand Soldiers together, and this game is not over yet. Not if the Emperor of Shurima has anything to say about it. This inner turret eventually going to be falling as the trample will come on through, and Canyon gets the Vault Breaker and breaks the Annie with it.
Okay, well, that was a lot harder than I thought it was. It was successful, but it was still very hard. I thought it was going to be impossible. It was hard, but GENG still make it work. Duro ends up getting the TP in there. They end up getting the inner there in mid. Bottom side inner goes over and trade for only the top side inner for G2. And GENG strike back and will take a gold lead. Watching this again, I thought for sure this is a step too far, but with the combo of the Alistair here into the ult from Chovy, the flash to secure the kill, it's just the cherry on top there. It ends up being a win for G2, or sorry, for GENG. They follow there and get that kill onto Caps as well before his flash comes back up. And now it's 1,500, the gold lead for GENG. It's just the pendulum keeps swinging back and forth as now GENG are looking for an Otacon start here. The arm guard has been bought here for Chovy. Such a great timing here. His ult is coming back online as well, but not quite ready yet.
Yep, Broken Blade does spot out that this Otacon has been started. The pillar goes up, and let's see what G2 can get done here. It looks like they're not going to be able to get in. The Otacon is just down, and GENG will be able to secure it for themselves. Nothing lost on the side of G2 because they give this one up, and now they're just going to look for this outer turret towards this bottom side, try and get a cross map happening.
Yeah, Hansama should be able to get this turret here uncontested. So that's going to be some extra gold in his pocket. He has a very large lead over Ruler in the 80 carry matchup right now. Is looking for that IE purchase on his next back. He's got to be close to it. That's going to be a huge win for him, as Caps actually has his flashback here. Could collapse onto Chovy.
Yeah, Chovy is worth a whole lot of money here, as Canyon obviously shadowing, as there is the quickness. Gets the charm onto Chovy, and the flash forward from Caps says, yes, we are killing this Azir, and they absolutely are. The redemption does come down. Caps doesn't get the heal, but he doesn't need it because he's out of there. Ruler throws the boomerang, but Caps sidesteps that one as well. A nimble little girl is this Annie, and now, oh my goodness, how did he live? Ruler going to get taken out. Hansama with the double, and G2 a perfect answer to GENG. And like you say, this is just a pendulum between these squads
and
this game.
And GENG come for the play here, but they're just too slow. They're not set up as fast. They trickle through. Lebrov has gotten so much value out of this locket. It is absolutely insane. He then drops the redemption down as well. So watch this again. Caps is over the wall here, so has to rotate around. He ends up interacting with Canyon first. This means with the airborne here from Canyon with the charge Q, he has to flash for the kill. And it looks like, okay, it's going to be a trade, but then Locket comes through. Redemption comes through. Caps doesn't quite get hit by the healing, but everybody else does. And Broken Blade and Lebrov can peel. Lebrov gets a knock-up. That sidestep was beautiful from Caps. You mentioned it in the play-by-play. And GENG overcommit, find themselves 2,000 gold behind.
Oh, man, that was almost a pillar of death for Duro. He is able to walk far enough up in order to get out to safety, as G2 keeping up this pressure as they take down this blue Sentinel. Chovy, you could see, adjusting his seating position.
I mean, right now,
making sure that he really locks in for this last half of the game.
So much of this game, Hansama has cleaned up these overextensions from GENG. He's gotten the last hits of the kills, right? Like, he's gotten so much money from actually securing the kills, but we haven't seen him rip through GENG in a straight-up front-to-back 5v5 that much this game. It's been so much skirmishing. It's been so much scrappy fighting, where we haven't seen 10 players walk to a Dragon or a Baron and say, let's go. This is the fight for the objective, right? We haven't seen that gentleman's agreement type of fight yet this game, but because this Xayah is so massive and is so safe in this draft, Hansama, I feel like, has yet to play his biggest role in this game. He's just kind of been getting bigger for what is the big fight that G2 want to take to bring this to a third game, and that may happen in about 30 seconds time here as the Baron spawns. GENG, faster group though, and they're going in.
Canyon just pulls the trigger. They look to take down Caps. He does manage to fall. The exhaust is so good onto Hansama, but now it's worn off. Can they actually take him down as Duro? He's going to be his target. The feather recoil is massive, and they couldn't do it. Hansama's a blender, and they just walked into it. Canyon, a very, very short vault breaker, and I think he is going to be going down here. The stride breaker, Skumon didn't need to flash, but he did anyway because he felt like it, and the Baron spawns just in the nick of time.
Ruler wasn't there. 0 damage in the team fight. The 6,500 from Hansama. The charm from Lebrov, amazing there on the peel. They just cannot get on top of this Xayah. I mentioned Hansama had a role to play, but GENG played right into his hands. 9 kills now on this Xayah. Watch the fight again as Caps is the initial target. Look at where Hansama is though. Miles away. Lebrov comes in, drops the redemption here, gets the charms and the knockups. Hansama ults here to avoid Duro, and they just cannot get close to him. Skumon peels, Broken Blade comes in. It's a blender, as you said, and Hansama's damage just stacks up. Sure, you got the Annie, but you didn't get the real carry. You didn't get the big threats, and getting away from this Renekton Trundle is just not going to happen. And Ruler has to watch from the other side of the map as G2 look like they are going to bring this to 3.
It is looking like it. I just don't know what GENG were really thinking. Maybe they thought that there was an angle and that there weren't all the members of G2 there around the blue buff that was taken. Teamfight damage absolutely gigantic, as we were talking about before, and Hansama didn't even need to flash in that last fight.
And his ult's almost back up. So good luck catching this guy again. Or, I mean, you didn't catch him last time. Good luck trying again, I should really say.
Yeah, Duro making use of the exhaust that he'd picked up with his unsealed spellbook, but it just didn't really do enough. And yes, he killed the Annie, but it doesn't even, it just makes Tibbers angry, you know? That's what it feels like. As once again, Ruler on the other side of the fight here as GENG look to try and defend their inner turret. The Baron starting to stack up. A lot of extra money. Currently 1,600, but we'll see how much more it's going to be.
This is not the greatest sieging composition here for G2. Like, they need picks to really break open the base, as Ruler is playing Sivir and can clear these waves so incredibly quickly. Desire is low range, right? And they're still playing Annie. You're not pushing a Victor into the mid lane or anything like that. As speaking of Annie, he's going to try to annoy Keen here, but we'll shut down his push. But this is not the greatest Baron that we have seen in terms of damage just yet, as Labrov is going to double down on that.
He's battle dancing. It's fine. He's just able to get himself out of there, as Keen may not be capable of the same thing. The Ruthless Predator has found him, and he is looking to sink his teeth in. The flash over the wall there from Keen will get him to relative safety, but now doesn't have that tool for the next fight.
I think GENG are not happy with the game state, but I think they're pretty happy with the limited damage this Baron has actually done to them overall. We saw a TP committed there from Duro. It was a bit absurd.
A weird angle that Canyon's found himself in.
Hansama does have flash and ult.
Yeah, Canyon being very, very patient. Ruler's just dead. Never mind. Maybe too patient. Maybe Ruler wasn't patient enough. I'm not entirely sure, but that was embarrassing. As now, GENG looking to back away, not wanting to let any more fall. We've spoken about the Ruler position, Wolf. Maybe not so much this tournament, but that was an example of exactly what that is.
Yeah, that was potentially game losing here. I mean, the game was definitely in G2's hands, but I think that's the backbreaker. No more Sivir, no more wave clear. And G2, now the base is open. That's the first inhibitor to fall here. They will back away, try to grab a second. That bottom wave, though, is at the midway point, so there's no wave to crash through. Baron fades away, and they'll be happy to take a third Cloud Drake. That will be Cloud's sole point for them, but they have so much additional movement speed in this game to chase down targets.
I like the let's go GENG, and then just the cover up the sorry G2. I like that. Respect where it's interesting. G2 having a phenomenal game too here. Brilliant bounce back.
Yeah, it's interesting that Caps is 1-5 this game. He's 1,200 gold behind Chovy, but I feel like in every Caps death, there has been a win for G2. You know what I mean? As Chovy is now dead, maybe.
Okay, this is a very weird one. Yeah, Chovy is extraordinarily dead. Couldn't even use his Zhonya's to keep himself alive. As G2 looking a little worse for wear, but not really too worried about it, as they will take down this inner turret and look for another inhibitor in mid. Still dead. This is going to be even more super minions to deal with. And G2, they are not overextending. They're not looking to try and end the game when they don't necessarily have a foolproof opportunity to do so. They are just taking away what they can, playing this as patiently as they can.
And going back to the early game, we'll watch this moment here again. So this is a setup here from Canyon where he's trying to make sure Ruler can clear this wave, and then they could potentially look for the collapse, but they're just a little bit too desynced. And I think this was a greedy attempt, but when you're this far behind and when the Baron is pushing, you want to fish for stuff like this. Chovy ends up being caught. But I want to go back to some of the trades we talked about in the early macro game. Like, I feel like if G2 hadn't played the map as well as they did to keep the game as even as it was, this game would look very differently. And then Caps kept getting picked in sides, right? They focused him down so much. That's why he was 1-5, and now he's 2-5 after picking up the kill into Chovy. But his sacrifices were not in vain, and G2 stayed in the game. Hansama was able to clean up so many of the fights, punish GENG so significantly that I just feel like there's no way back. And Ruler is dead again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was about, but he did face check.
He looks mad, too, on the player cam. He's frustrated. He did not want to play a 3-game series before potentially making it to the finals, and now he's probably worried about his path there as this game is all but over.
That face check looked like he really did want to play a 3-game series and wanted to get into game 3 as quickly as possible, Wolf. That's what it looked like to me, as G2 looking to take down the last remaining inhibitor turret. That is going to fall. Inhibitor soon to follow, as GENG waiting underneath their Nexus turrets. G2 pushing forward. Tibber's getting aggressive. And G2 not pushing up more than they necessarily can, as Labrov, he can't because he's Rakan. And now Duro sneaking around for a little bit of an angle here. They don't really have the vision. The Baron's going to be up in 15 seconds. G2 looking to grab that before they push the rest of the way. GENG not wanting to give up without a fight, as 1 second. Ruler is now up. So
playing around vision so well.
Once again.
Like, GENG are like, I think maybe there's an angle here, but there just absolutely isn't. And now they buy enough time for this Baron to respawn. Double super minions across every lane means to get to the Baron is your toughest challenge, and they just simply will not be able to do it. Caps holds the line here. super fast with his shield. He's just like shields himself and he's zooming. Wait until he gets that 4th Cloud Drake. If the game goes that long, 2 minutes until that goes over, you drop a bear and just run across the finish line. As Ruler here just has no right to be here. Like, there's no vision.
I guess
it's
they
just
did
not
have
allowed.
They had a wall of vision that he thought maybe was like there's no one here like we know, but like I don't think the wall was quite plugged enough. As G2 looking for a little bit of an angle here, as Canyon not allowed to take his Gromp. That is Skumons, unfortunately, for the Gen G players. And yeah, G2 just getting the waves in order, getting things pushed up. Hansama dealing with that bottom lane, and G2 not giving Gen G any ways back in.
Yeah, I mean, the Sivir wave clear can do a lot for you, but it's not going to be your get out of jail free card here. But it is helping Gen G buy space for maybe one more attempt, one more flank fight, one more jump onto the carry. But Hansama's got flash and ult, so best of luck to our last LCK representative. I think Gen G is probably thinking about game 3. One more fight, one more chance.
Possible, but they'll need an absolute miracle if they want to hold on to this one, and I think they need to do it about 3 times.
I mean, Hansama's got GA, he's got level 18. There's no holes in this game plan.
Well, Keen going to ult and flash. Was looking to try and start something, but yeah, G2 take the invitation. They're just going to eviscerate Gen G. It's a double already for Hansama. Can it be back-to-back pentakills in this game? Is Canyon likely to be the 3rd for Hansama? Keen and Ruler standing near their fountain. Hansama well and truly legendary. I don't know whether the Nexus is going to last. It's a Quadra, and there it is, the back-to-back pentas. Game 1 and game 2 for both teams.
Hansama Xayah has been a terror at this tournament. But I gotta say, Atlas, when you think about Gen G, you think about their macro, how oppressive they are, and the lead that they had early. Most LCK teams can't go toe-to-toe with that. 90% of the time, our best LCK teams can't go toe-to-toe with that, but this G2 held their own, made the cross maps. This fight was the defining moment of the game where Hansama was just unpunished. Duro tried his best, look for the exhaust, look for the knockup, but he gets ulted, and it is just fighting into a choke point against this massive Xayah. G2 bringing us to 3, keeping the hope of the West alive here at EWC.
Yep, Gen G gonna have to play a 3rd one here as G2 battle back in this 2nd game. We'll see what happens after the break.